Well, it's week 49 of the golfing calendar, and what a week. In fact, we've barely got time for the opener with what's going on in golf at the moment. So cancel your calls, make sure your phone's charged, because this is going to be a monster episode. Before we do, though, big thanks to our mates at Ping. They'll help you play your best. You can get a Ping club fitting from your local golf shop or professional. And the Golf Clearance Outlet. They're in Sydney, Melbourne, Brizzy, Perth, and online at golfclearanceoutlet.com.au. Fired up and ready to put a ruler across the world of golf, the hosts of the #1 Australian golf podcast. Here's Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen. This is Talk Birdie to Me.
So, not much happened this week. This might only last about 5 or 6 minutes, I reckon, this week, Nick. Nice to see you.
And you.
Hang on. We know we've got some big stuff to get to. So, LIV and Rahm and Rollback, we'll get to it, folks.
Yes.
But I have a new entry into my top 5 most amazing things I've ever seen in golf. And that is 4 Australians finishing in 4 of the top 5 spots, or the only 5 spots, for the Champions Tour. It's the toughest by a mile, not by a little bit. It's the toughest tour school of them all. Only 5 spots available. And we've got 4 Aussies in it.
I know.
It's a miracle, Nick.
It was. And did you see Michael Wright's shot at the end? You think that wasn't a miracle?
So he was in the top 5 comfortably, and he looks like he sprayed one into the rubbish.
Yep.
Chipped out, didn't get it onto the fairway.
Got it on the sandy stuff, whatever that is, the desert.
And you explain how scary that sort of a shot would be after you've just hit a bad drive.
Well, I was thinking, how many did he make it in by? I think he got in by 2 shots in the end.
Yes.
Maybe 3, given he birdied the final hole. So if he makes double bogey, he may slip out.
That's right.
So he's got to put it on the green and 2-putt, but you've flared one, you've pitched it, haven't found the fairway, and you've got this, he had some sort of a wedge. It wasn't a full wedge, but he's got water left. The nerves are obviously jangling because this is your whole year you're basically playing for.
And you may never get back to this position ever again in your whole life.
And he freaking holds it. It was unbelievable. And his caddy's going off too. He's going, and rightly so. I mean, you could see that there was a video afterwards where I think the group had finished, or he was to the side waiting for his playing partners to putt out. And he's not on his knees, but he's squatting down. He's got his hands in his head in his hands. Yeah. And you could just see the absolute relief on his face was astronomical, and I'm sure he was crying and all that, and all the guys, the 4 of them to get in. I mean, how good? I mean, Cameron Percy, and we'll talk about this maybe a bit later in the results, but Cameron Percy played a beautiful Q score. I mean, he was leading from the front and finished it off nicely. Steve Allen got a little bit wobbly at the end. He actually double bogeyed the last I saw, but he still got, I think, 3rd card. He was running 2nd at that point. And you had Michael Wright, and then all of a sudden, David Branston.
Yeah,
good
in the playoff.
I know.
So I've got the results here. So
please.
So Cameron Percy finished 20 on the par,
and we almost had 5, by the way.
That's right. That's right.
Yes,
because Greg Snake Chalmers almost got in. Michael Wright finished 2nd in the end. He birdied the last, remember?
Yes,
but he was tied at 14.
Okay.
So 13 was in the playoff.
Oh my gosh.
So even if he just chips to the sand, hits his wedge out. There it is there. Hits his wedge out, and then 2 putts. He's in a playoff.
Well, he finished 15.
So he's with a birdie on the last. So he was coming down the last.
So he was 14, and 13 got in.
13's in a playoff.
There is no playoff.
I thought Dave Branston got in on a playoff.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sure he did. I've seen it. I've seen it, Nick.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't think there was a playoff.
He got in on a playoff. Yes. I've seen the footage.
Okay.
I'd be staggered if I'm wrong.
Okay.
I'll put it to you that way.
I would have thought it was 5+ ties, but I could be wrong.
I think there was a playoff. There's only 5 spots.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll sort it out. We'll sort it out during the break.
We will. Through the heart. Yeah, we'll do that later. But anyway, 4 of the 5. Let's just go with that.
4 of the 5 spots.
And great to see the baby-faced assassin, Cousin Alan.
Cousin Al. Cousin Stevie.
Cousin Steve. Get through, because you talk about a grinder. This guy, Steve, I mean, he's been everywhere playing mini tours, Corn Ferry Tour. He was down here in Australia playing some Legends Tour events here, which was great to see him. And for him to go back and do it, fortunately, it was on his back doorstep because it was in Scottsdale, Arizona.
That's right.
So it was beautiful.
So we're talking about Richard Green at the start of this year, and that his journey. He ended up making $1.2 million US. So Australian pesos, that's 1.8 million. So basically, maybe throwing in a few bonuses here and there, he's made 2 million Aussie dollars last season. What do you reckon, about $500,000 worth of expenses?
Yeah.
Yep. So he's made 1.5 clear, a little bit of tax. He's made $1 million clear over there. A mighty effort. You got Steve Elker. I had a look at what he did. He came second on their money list or their points list. $2.4 million. That's just from Monday to Friday, plus all the bonuses, plus everything else. It's very good cash.
It is.
So these four guys, you might be wondering what we're talking about, but there are no cuts except for the majors. So it is a superannuation fund like no other if you're a golfer.
You do have to play very well on that tour, though. Yeah. I mean, top 50, I think, keep your card for the following year. And I saw Stuart Appleby, he might have just finished outside that. So whether he's still got status, I'm not sure. But, I mean, Robert Allenby played on it for a couple of years, and we don't hear of him much anymore because he lost his status over there. John Sendon's back down here in Australia now. He's been playing a bit down here. There's various guys that are incredible golfers, and you think they're just going to kill it over there, but it's still a really tough tour to play on. But to get on it, that's actually the hardest part. And the way Steve Orker did it, we've documented this before about how he Monday qualified, ended up top 10ing 6 weeks in a row, gets his card that way rather than having to go to Q School. Greenie last year went to Q School and won it, and this year, I mean, those four guys, they're in for a fun ride.
There it is. David Branston secures the 5th spot in a playoff.
You're kidding me.
There you go.
I thought we were going to do this in the break.
No,
okay.
I found it quickly. So have a look at that. You see, you actually see him play.
I couldn't see it.
He's almost hold it, and then right at the very end, there he is. He's the medalist, Cameron Percy.
Okay.
But he made it in a playoff.
I'm going to double check that during the break.
There is footage right there, Nick. What are you talking about?
Okay.
It's done. It is
That's
done.
all good.
It is
Tell
done.
me about the emotional, like you guys have been there, right? You've been in these scenarios. The emotions must be just overwhelming for these boys.
Yeah, Q School's hell. I mean, Q School, they call it Hell Week, basically, because you're playing for your whole year in 1 week. And if you don't play well, guess what? You're looking for a different job next year. I mean, yes, you'll get some starts, but nothing like
this.
What getting through, especially on the Champions Tour. I mean, I think Greg Chalmers missed out by one. That gives him access to then go and try and Monday qualify into tournaments. Doesn't give him any starts. So that's really hard to do at the same time as well. So
now, just quiet now.
Are we going to really?
I like being right every once in a while. I'm right. Don't touch anything, Nick, because you'll stuff it up. Don't touch it, all right? Now watch what it says on the bottom. So that guy, he missed that part.
It looks like Harrison Fraser.
David Branson goes through and read what it says.
Yes, you are correct. Secured number 5 spot in playoff. I didn't realise there was a playoff.
Finally, I've got one.
Oh, my goodness.
Finally, I've got one.
Wow, there was another big playoff which we'll do in the results as well for the LIV promotions.
Yeah. And really quickly too, Jason Day and Lydia Ko had a win also.
How good.
Yeah, really good.
Australia and New Zealand usually don't combine very well, but
we're the team from down under.
And Nick, look how smug he looks right now.
Because I'm right. Yeah, it doesn't happen often. It doesn't happen often when I'm going off my memory. So
to be fair, most other Q schools like DP World Tour, PGA Tour, things like that, back in the day, I mean, PGA Tour has changed. Right. I think used to be top whatever plus ties.
2 tie, all tie.
Yeah.
Everyone gets in.
Anyway.
It's changed.
Well done, Mark.
Thank
Bravo.
you. Yeah, I'm really happy.
I'll give you that.
I've got a big smile.
Now you mentioned some of the money these guys made the other day, made in the last year or so. Yeah. Pales into insignificance with what's happened recently.
Well, let's talk about Jon Rahm and LIV because it is enormous. It's one giant shot across the bow of the PGA Tour. I mentioned about 3 weeks ago that talks had broken down, and I heard that. I was in a room where I probably shouldn't have heard that, but I did hear it.
Right.
And this is just a demonstration that is absolutely 100% right, because if talks had not broken down, there is no need to pay anybody. Not a cent. There's no need for this whatsoever. But one article I read, and it was a Sports Illustrated article, and they had been speaking to Jon Rahm's management. The terms of the agreement were £100 million a year times 3. So 3 years, plus he also gets some ownership of one of the teams. Plus, it looks like Callaway may well be getting involved one way or another. So, enormous amounts of money.
Yeah, you add that all up, and what is reported is $600 million US.
Basically. 600 million.
Yep.
Well, I've seen those reports too over 4 years, but it was interesting. This one was just over 3. And like I said, they'd been speaking to the management of John Rahm. And it just tells me that it's not a fair fight. You know, when the PIF have got, what is it, $800 billion US in a fund to play with, the PGA Tour just can't compete with that, Nick. So what's their next? What will they do next?
Oh, they were never going to compete, were they? And the weird thing was, in the US, there was a guy called Shohei Ohtani, a baseballer, just signed a deal for $700 million with the LA Dodgers for 10 years, and he was the highest paid professional athlete of all time. Yeah, I think that lasted a day or two because then the Rahm announcement came out, and all of a sudden Rahm basically is. So it just goes to show, number one, the money in sports is a joke. It's ridiculous.
Particularly when the Saudis are involved.
Well, yes.
When the Saudis are involved, it's now a joke.
Yep. And, you know, when everyone was talking about this, I thought, I'd be hard-pressed to see him go, given what he had said. Yes. I mean, he had said things like, would my lifestyle change with $400 million US? No. Yep. I guess it would with $600 million. I'm not sure.
He didn't like 3 rounds. He didn't like no cuts.
He didn't like no cut 3 rounds. That's not a golf tournament. All that sort of a thing. So the thing where it's all turned, and as we know, is June 6th. Yep. It's when the PGA Tour legitimised what the Saudis are doing by going to bed, so going with them and saying, "Yep, let's work out a framework agreement to move this thing going forward." So they've basically legitimising sports washing. We know what it's all about, right? Yeah. It's all about that.
They can't get away from it. Yeah. They cannot get away from it.
But it's working because no one's talking about it anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah. And by the way, I was watching the Australian Open a couple of weeks ago, and I was watching Steph Kyriakou, and you know, you always have a look what they're wearing. She had a big Aramco visor on. Yep. So no one's going crooked, Steph.
No.
Not one person in the whole world, but that's basically coming straight out of that PIF fund.
Yeah, they've been sponsoring the Ladies European Tour for quite a while now, that's the Aramco series and all that. So we know it's already out there.
Have a look on the boards of every single test we play against England. There's Aramco absolutely everywhere, and no one bats an eyelid.
Yeah, but it was very surprising. We know he's going for the money. That's obviously number one, correct?
That's right. So all the other stuff that he's saying is garbage.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I want to grow the game in Spain, which he does, obviously, for sure, and everything else, I'd love to lead my teammates and things like that, and now I won't get the bad side of the draw because we all get off at the same time.
My God.
I mean, John, just say it's the money, dude.
It's laughable. That stuff's laughable.
It is, and we know it is. But it's no surprise now when you look at it, because the PGA Tour has given these guys free rein to say, why should we stay loyal to the PGA Tour? Now, in the original agreement, I heard there was to be no poaching of players.
Correct.
So I don't know what's happened there. I guess
the agreement to agree is off the table at the moment, and this is just a flex. So this is all this is from the PIF.
Yeah,
it is a flex.
It's just to let them know that, hey,
you don't want to play ball. Okay. Watch this, and that's exactly what's happened.
And they're creating a 13th team, which means there's going to be 3 more players. And I'm hearing rumours of who is it?
Sander.
Well, that's who I thought, but I haven't heard about them yet. I've heard of Finau and Hatton, maybe even Adam. I don't know. So.
Well, I saw Finau being interviewed this week because he was playing at the tournament where Jason and Lydia had a win, and they asked him a couple of times about it, and he wouldn't answer. And it was it's exactly the same
deal
as we've seen from all the other players who have gone.
Yeah, when they're not answering, you kind of know that they're halfway there, basically.
Nick, I'm going to ask you this, but I'm going to give you my opinion first. So I want to give you the same thing. If you're one of those elite players where you move the needle in golf, and it's one of the players that you can't afford to lose if you're the PGA Tour. So Finau, Hatton for Europe, Rory McIlroy, who apparently was offered an eye-watering amount of money and did not go. If I'm those players now, and I know that the PGA is in a position now where they've painted themselves into a corner and they have to dance. They've got to dance with the Saudis now, otherwise one player after another is going to go because of that $800 billion fund. If you don't take the money now, that's never going to be there ever again.
Yep.
Ever again. So if you're money focused and that's something that's at the top of your list, I think you're going to see a lot of players go. And again, it's just going to be another flex.
It's a no-brainer.
We're going to take Hatton. We're going to take Finau.
Yep.
We're going to take Rahm. We've offered to Rory. He's too good for us. We've offered Tiger.
Yep.
He's too good for us.
There are certain players we know won't go, and that's Rory, Spieth, Thomas, Tiger.
Yep.
They're kind of the four that you know. Victor, I'm not so sure about.
Yep.
That'd be an interesting one. Maybe that could be next cab off the rank.
If one of those names was O'Hearn.
If one of those names was O'Hearn.
Yeah, so this isn't the original. Because
Okay.
I think O'Hearn of the original.
We've spoken about this before.
You may not have gone.
Originally, it
if you're in
depends
your
on
prime.
what stage of my career
That's
I
right.
was in.
If
yeah,
you were in your
for
prime,
sure.
if you were in your prime and you just had some good
Yeah.
finishes in majors and that sort of stuff,
And
I
that-
don't think that Nick would have gone.
And that's what surprised me about Cam when he went.
Yeah.
That kind of surprised me a little because it was very much still up in the air. Could you play the majors? Could you do whatever? So, but now with all what the PGA Tour did, I can see no reason why players don't do it just to cash in.
Yeah.
And that's the sickening thing at the
Yeah.
same time. It's just all about the money at the moment. And I've almost lost a bit of, I'll never lose my love for the game of golf, but I've lost my love for the professional game of golf at the moment with some of the elite players, and it's not their fault, by the way.
No.
It's not their fault.
It's not
the
their
bodies running it, and the PGA Tour. Where's Jay Monahan been recently?
Well,
Why hasn't he been stepping up and making press conferences and announcements and things like this? And I just actually read this morning that there was some sort of a release from the PGA Tour, and they've said we are in negotiations at the moment with the company called Strategic Sports Group. Have you heard of them?
yes.
So it's a consortium of US-based sports team investors that includes like the Red Sox, the Liverpool, Pittsburgh Penguins, Chicago Cubs, Atlanta Falcons. All these owners are part of this consortium, and they're looking at partnering or coming in as a private equity investor into the PGA Tour, and then also talk with the PIF at the same time. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out, whether they go on their own route with them or whether they include the PIF and they just bring it all together. If they don't bring it all together, it's unfortunately it's going to be divided forever.
This time last year, Jay Monahan was telling all the PGA Tour players not to deal with them and to stay true to and don't do the wrong thing and let's stay strong. He went behind every player's back and started negotiating with the Saudis. And now we're at a situation where he can't win. He can't win this fight. They're too strong. They're too powerful. They've got too much money. Can you see a world where Jay Monahan...
How is he still commissioner at the moment? That's what I want to know.
That's what I wanted to hear.
I don't know how... The thing is with the commissioner, I actually don't know how they vote him out or bring someone in. I'm actually not up to speed on those sorts of bylaws.
You pay him out. That's the only thing. You know what I would do? If I'm the PGA Tour, I put in a temporary boss. And that temporary boss is Tiger Woods. And Tiger Woods goes mano a mano with the big boys and they get a deal done. Because I do think Tiger has golf in his heart and he wants to see it go very well. But I also think he'd be very good in that room. That's my view anyway.
Yeah, I agree in that sense.
Just temporary, just a temporary boss.
The only issue I know he's, arguably the greatest golfer of all time, depending on who you talk to. You want the greatest businessman and negotiator of all time in there, and now is that Tiger? I don't know.
No, but you'd have those closely falling in behind Tiger.
Yeah,
Tiger wouldn't go in there just with one.
Yeah.
He's not going in there by himself.
No.
He's taking in a team, but he's in that room, and he's, he's first point of contact for everybody in that room.
Yeah.
And I think the deal gets done.
Well, that's where I thought, you had Monahan, what was his name, Jimmy Dunn, Ed Hurley, those guys. I thought that's what they were there for, but apparently not.
No.
This was to get the framework and the agreement over the line.
The Saudis couldn't care less about those guys.
No, I know.
They couldn't. They're gonna chew up Jay Monahan and spit him out, let alone the rest of them. But I don't think the Saudis would dare try and chew up and spit out Tiger Woods.
The one thing that is for certain after all of this, and when the water's clear and we get to next year, the four majors are going to be
Ugh.
the be all and end all,
Yeah.
as they rightly should be.
Yeah.
But it's basically turned into tennis now.
Yeah.
Right now, and no one really worries about all the other events. I used to care about the Memorial, Hilton Head, Colonial, Bay Hill, all those tournaments that have a lot of years of prestige. But if we go down the path we're going, I'm not sure they're going to carry much meaning to the players much anymore, and it's going to be about all the four majors. Now, Rahm going to LIV, will that make me want to watch it? Not particularly.
No.
I've never really watched it. I followed it because I enjoy following golf, but I've never watched it.
And I know Adelaide. Adelaide will be big.
I was on site in Adelaide, and I thought that was a wonderful event. But as far as tradition, when you say golf tournaments go, is it my cup of tea? No, I've said that all along. But
I'm the same.
But I love the way it's gotten the people excited about golf here in Australia, and they were able to see players they'd never seen before.
So, all right, so that's where we're at the moment.
It's sad in a way.
It is sad. I'm with you.
Yeah.
It is very, very sad. But let's try and get this tangled mess untangled. How do we fix it? Because I think there's only one way, and that is an Aramco Grand Prix series. When we spoke about this last week, when Rory jumped off the board, what board was he on again? He was on the advisory board, on the players' advisory board.
Yeah.
When he jumped off that board, he came out and said he thinks there should be a Grand Prix style circuit, which is the four majors, the Players' Championship, the Australian Grand Prix, the Japanese Grand Prix, the Saudi
bring on the
Arabia
National
Grand
Opens.
Prix. Yep. All the National Opens, the Irish Open, the British
Scottish,
Open's obviously in there already, the Scottish Open. And let's get 14 or 15 really biggies, and that can be the Aramco Grand Prix circuit, for lack of a better term.
Yep.
I'm just trying to spell it out a little easier. LIV goes. Or at least gets smaller. And they still do that sort of stuff, but then we have the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour, but we have that Aramco Grand Prix that rises above, and we at least get to see the best players in the world 15 times playing for tournaments that mean something. Now, that's my perfect world.
Yeah.
That's where I think golf sits at the moment. And if there's any light in the tunnel, that's it. That circuit, and then the PGA Tour stays, the DP World Tour stays, and let's say LIV, they have 8 events.
Right.
That would be. Can you see a way out? Because you've been in there, you understand it better than me.
Yeah.
What do you think is the light at the end of the tunnel?
I like that scenario that you're talking of. It's going to be extremely difficult.
Yep.
Because you've got, how many players are you looking at for those 15 events? Number one.
Yep.
I mean, are they going to be 50? Is it going to be 100? How's all that going to work?
How's it going to work? Yep.
There's that side of things, and then you've got so many other players behind them, whether on the PGA Tour or the DP World Tour, and the sponsors are going, well, hang on, why do we want to put all this money into events that don't have the best players in the world?
That's
so
it.
Then,
hello, Wells Fargo. They're going to put on their tournament this year, and then they're dancing off. They're off in the sunset. The Wells Fargo group. They don't want to be part of it anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, it's fascinating to me because when you look at golf in terms of a world sport, it's actually not that big a sport.
No.
When you think about
it's a small,
soccer.
big sport.
Yeah.
It's a small, big sport. It's not a big sport. It's a small, big sport. Like tennis.
Yeah. No, exactly. Exactly. So going forward, how does it all come together? It's anyone's best guess, and you just hope you got the right people in the room at the right time making those decisions.
That's why I think we got to have Tiger running the show.
Okay.
You mentioned before about the private equity group.
Strategic Sports Group.
So how would... I don't understand how that would work because they can't compete, I don't think, with the money that LIV have.
I agree.
And if it becomes a battle of who's got the biggest wallets, A, the PGA is going to lose.
Yes.
And B, it's just going to have an inflationary effect on everything. It's going to destroy the game.
Well, if it gets tangled up then, they will just keep pinching players. They don't care. Like the 600 million... Let's say it is 600 million. They're paying Rahm. That's a drop in the ocean to the $800 billion fund they've got.
And
that's nothing.
And when Cam Smith signed for, what was it, 140 million?
140 million US.
We thought that, oh my gosh, that is massive. And then you hear 600. And then down the track, it might be for someone like, as an
Rory.
example.
Say Rory. What's Rory worth? If John Rahm's worth 600, Rory will get $1 billion over 4 years.
Minimum. But again... going on what he said.
Yep.
But then again, going on what a lot of people said.
Yeah. What about Hideki? Hideki, he'd be a
down
domino.
He turned down 400, didn't he?
Well,
So,
they're playing hardball now.
Yeah.
So Hideki, double it.
Yeah.
You're going to get 800 million. That's if the PGA Tour don't dance. Now, Brandel Chambly, I mentioned him at the top. He's at a point now. He was the biggest opponent for this.
yes.
But now he's even at a stage. He would, obviously talks to people in the right situations, Nick. He is now falling on his sword and saying, well, we've got to dance. That's the only way out.
Otherwise, the game will be not destroyed, but it's going to be
Won't be
something we won't enjoy as much. And at the end of the day, I think the fans
Correct.
are going to be the ones that might miss out.
One of the challenges is private equity companies want a return on their investment.
Yes.
The LIV guys, I don't think, from what I can see, they don't care. They're not after a return.
No.
They're just trying to build this brand and win.
Yeah.
And a return on that investment is not what they're after.
No.
Because the kind of money they're putting in, you can't make that out of golf.
No.
You'll never get that back.
No. Well, I don't think so.
They're talking about, having teams have this value and that's where they're going to make their money back, but I can't see that happening, especially when... So, to give you an example, the other day, and LIV Golf was doing these trades. Did you see the trades that was going on between teams?
Basically, I had a brief...
Yeah. I heard Taylor Gooch, who's been the best player or one of the top 2 or 3 best players, got traded for Matt Wolff, who's been one of the worst players. Now, why would you trade your best player for one of the worst? That makes absolutely no sense to me. So I don't think they're even caring about what happens in these trades either. So it's baffling.
Yeah.
Normally, if you're going to send your best, you want... Okay, I know you give me something real bad, but how about 3 or 4 more that you've got there, or whatever, or cash value, or these sorts of things? That just does not make sense to me.
It's a really interesting point you bring up, Dan, because they're backpedaling and they're so desperate. They're going after people who might have $1 billion to spend. That ordinarily that'd be a lot, $1 billion US. And they've got to, they might have three of those investment funds that are willing to spend $1 billion.
It still won't be enough. not against the Saudis.
You're fighting someone who's got $800 billion.
Yeah.
It's not. Like I said, it's not a fair fight.
No, and it's not like they can make it back in merch and stuff. Because you look at Otani with what's happening with the Dodgers. I mean, they're going to sell a heap of jerseys with his name on the back of them.
Yep.
They'll make a lot. They won't make $700 back, but they'll make a lot back.
They'll make a lot back.
Yeah.
They
they
won't make big profits.
That's a completely different thing. I mean, the Dodgers, for instance, they have like $4 million in sales in tickets, I believe, every year. The other thing they have a league with 70 million or 80 million fans. Then they have the TV rights as well. So there's all that going on.
And multiple games every week.
With LIV Golf at the moment, there's no TV that I know of. I mean, it's on, what is it, 7 Plus? Or
7 Plus,
something like that.
Yeah.
But where are they generating any revenue or anything from sales? Maybe they are. I don't know. So
They'd be generating some.
A little bit.
Apparently Adelaide did quite well. Adelaide made a bit of money. And fair enough too. You see, and this year they'll make more money again.
Not as much as Major League Baseball, though.
Not as much as it costs, though. Because I reckon the build out of Adelaide was a lot more than what they made.
Let me run this past you because I'm really big on the Grand Prix circuit.
Okay.
I just
don't follow it, but yeah.
In the back of my mind, that's what I think they have in store for golf.
That sounds good to me. I like what you just said.
But remember this. Remember, one of the worst things they've been saying, Greg and everybody at LIV, we've all laughed at it. We're growing the game of golf. We're growing the game of golf. We're growing the game of golf, right? It's laughable at the moment. We can't see an end game. If their plan was to have a Grand Prix circuit for golf right from the start, that was their dream, okay? It's not where they started, but their long-term dream was to do it. I can imagine why they're saying we're going to grow the game of golf, because they will get a big field in Australia, the best field, a major style field for the Australian Open. They will get a major style field for the Japan Open. It wouldn't surprise me if that was the long-term 15 or 20-year goal that they had at the very start, and that's where the grow the game stuff sort of came from. Even though they're taking LIV around the world, they were never really going to grow the game doing that. But if they could have a majors where 15 times a year, the best players on earth play for some really big trophies, famous ones with heritage and, wonderful memories of the past and big names, then that kind of makes sense to me. That's what they were trying to do.
And maybe the only way they can do that is to mortally wound the PGA.
Yep.
And that's the path they can get through.
That's what's going on. That is what's happening. Do you want to talk about rollback after the break?
I'm a little depressed right now.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Oh, should have brought a wine in.
Yeah. Yeah, go on. Let's go.
All right.
Let's roll back. You start.
Well, what happened? The USGA, RNA announced that they are.
Yep, they're going to do it.
They're going to do the little rollback of the ball.
That's the plan.
2028 for pros.
Correct.
2030 for the amateurs.
Correct, right?
It's a long way off.
Long way off.
Not sure it's going to make much difference.
I don't think it'll make a difference to handicaps around the world. Not much at all. The handicap players. So the reason I'm saying that is because they're saying for a good female player, it's going to affect them, 4 to 7 yards off the tee. That's for a good female player. Yep. If you're going to watch the females play, they play a hell of a lot better than most club golfers. So if it's 4 to 7 yards, 4 to 7 yards for the best female players in the world, then I think for your average golfer, that means it's going to be 2 or 3 yards.
Yeah,
so handicaps won't change.
No, I don't think so. And it's a fair way off, obviously. And
Miles.
I mean, on social media, depending on what you look at, you can see all the uproar it's causing in the world of golf.
Yes.
Oh, it's going to make me not want to play golf anymore. I'm thinking, well, come on. I mean,
you won't notice a difference.
Maybe just move forward a tee if it's going to make that big a difference. But I really don't think it will. But the one thing that they're not doing, and I'm all for bifurcation. I think they should have different equipment for the pros and then let the amateurs go have at it, which is fine. But they're not changing the forgiveness of the golf club. I think they need to do that for the pros. Again, I'm not saying this is for amateurs. This is where they need to do the bifurcation, I believe. So
for the best pros and the best amateurs,
yes.
Yeah, when you're playing in a scratch event, I'm with you. But you know what?
Because there's a massive divide between tour pros and elite amateurs and the club golfer. There is.
Yeah. I think that was probably a bridge too far for them in one go. And
sure.
You've probably seen. So I wouldn't be surprised. Again, this is me guessing. I wouldn't be surprised if that's in their long-term thinking.
I would hope so. Yeah.
It's got to be, Nick. I mean, honestly, but it actually has to be.
It won't be
in their long-term thinking.
Only if they bifurcate, because I don't see them doing that. Like the driver, as an example, I don't see them doing that for the average golfer out there. They're just going to keep it big. For the tour pros, elite ams, they should shrink it down, make it harder, all that sort of stuff.
And to late 90s style, that one. You know, the when Tiger had the Titleist driver with the steel shaft, and Aaron Baddeley did exactly the same thing. That model of head had just the right size. I mean, it was big.
Yep.
Big enough to where you can still have a bit of a whoosh at it. I think if they went back to that, it would be absolutely perfect.
And there's precedent for this too. If you go back to 1984, the javelin was changed because the throwers of the javelin, these competitive guys, were throwing it too far for the stadiums.
Out of the stadium,
So rather than change the stadium, as in golf course, guess what? They changed the javelin.
Yeah,
so
smart.
Totally makes sense. Same with baseball.
It's exactly right.
You know, no aluminium bats. Just
that
go to the wooden
right.
bats.
Yeah,
Same sort of thing.
So. A lot of people panicking at the moment, and there's no need to panic.
I mean,
Don't panic.
And there's other issues in the game which I think maybe they could attend to first. Anchoring, things like that. Yeah. Why don't we make the putter the shortest club in the bag? All that sort of thing.
You know, you've been saying that for a long time.
I certainly have.
And I think you're right. I think it's pretty easy. And if it's not the shortest club in the bag, let's just check the way he putts and get it ticked off. You know, like, so for instance, if you're Raymond Floyd always had a 37-inch putter. Yeah. So that would have been longer than his 9-iron, maybe the same length of his 8-iron or his 7-iron. But they go, okay, your putter's not the shortest club in the bag. Show us how you're going to use this, Raymond. Mm-hmm. And he goes, well, I'm using it like this. And they go, tick.
Yep.
Raymond, no worries at all. That's easy to do.
Okay.
That's easy to do.
Yeah, solves that. I tell you, you should be on all these boards, Mark. You know. We got the commissioner, we got the RNA, we got the USGA.
Yeah, I know.
Guys, party pies at the door.
Let's go.
All right. Like the podcast? Oh, maybe tell a friend. Drop them a text or share it on your socials. This is Talk Birdie to Me with Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen.
You just said something in the break that no one heard. But I want you to say it again, Nick. I want you to say it again. It started with where.
Where, yeah. Where is it all going to end?
No one knows, do we? I don't think anyone knows. Well, I do know this. It'll end when Jay Monahan's out of the room. I don't think anyone's going to be happy from either side if he is negotiating on anyone's behalf anymore. I think that's the first step.
Is there a trust issue with Jay from the players' point of view?
Oh, now there is, yeah.
No, I think
When he went behind their backs.
Yeah, incompetent is the term that keeps on getting bounced around from the players. The ones I watch anyway, they feel like it. Just the basic, come and talk to us first. Come and talk to us. Don't tell us not to take the money, not to take the money, not to take the money, and then you go and talk to them and lay this on us.
Yeah.
And now look, you can't even agree to agree. And now Rahm's gone. And then, they would be filthy.
Yeah.
And now every player would see that John Rahm's gone and they want a bit of that action because they know it will... Anyway.
Yeah, it won't be there forever.
It's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad.
We're on the back nine.
Or I've got plenty of feedback, guys. You want to hear some?
Yes, please.
Yes, that'd be great.
Ian Harvey has commented on, obviously a bit of feedback on Rahm going. Can't blame him. Anyone would cross the road and swap jobs for 900 mil.
Yes, of course. You are correct.
He's absolutely correct. Tim has said, as soon as the PGA did their deal, the whole situation went back to stage one. Good on John Rahm for adapting to the situation. The more I hear him talk, the more I respect him.
Really? I say,
Well,
I wish he came out and said the money was too good to refuse.
Yeah, there
Then
you go.
I'm on board with John Rahm. But this other stuff, it's, I don't know.
especially when they show the comments that he was
Yeah.
making. Would this change my family one bit? And then he came out and said, well, I have to think of my family and my future kids. And you're going, hang on, you just saying the exact opposite. But whatever, it is what it is.
And he was adamant about the no-cut thing too. He was adamant when we talked about cuts a while ago. Sam Aliano has said LIV Golf is going to bring the big names to play in Australia. Outside of the President's Cup, LIV Golf Adelaide surely will be the best credentialed and most star-studded lineup we've ever had.
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
That is true. Mm-hmm. For just a random tournament. I don't think President's Cup probably get a bit bigger and better, but just for a tournament, 54 holes if you don't mind, never would we have seen a stronger field in Australia.
No.
Never.
One final comment on that from Go You Good Thing, who said, I can't wait to see him at Grange. And that's probably...
it's going to be big.
A lot of people
It'll
think
be
the same
bigger than
thing.
last year.
Now, on the rollback and the driver changes, Daniel has said this can only be a good thing. Plus, Marco, as you say, make the driver head smaller for the pros. Let the weekend golfer use whatever they want. The drivers should be harder for the pros. It used to be a real skill.
That's spot on, Daniel. It's exactly what I was saying before.
I'll still take credit for
bifurcate.
it.
Yeah, I know. He said,
you've been saying
I've been saying it all
You've been
along.
saying
Get your facts right, Daniel. No, I'm only kidding, mate. Thanks for listening. And yes, smaller driver heads would be good.
That'll be my prediction. 2033 is my prediction.
Gianluca has said, very small price to pay to hopefully see the best courses in the world used for more pro tournaments. Non-elite players will barely notice. Driver heads surely next.
I think you'll find ball speed will be pretty much exactly the same as it is right now in 2028. Pretty much.
Now, here's an interesting one. Wayne has said, how about instead of changing the balls, we make the courses tougher for the pros? I don't know how you do that because the courses are the courses, right?
Yeah, you just make them more boring, which means the rough gets grown at 6 inches all over the place.
I've heard this before in the US. One of the tour pros on PGA Tour, who was it? Might have been Webb Simpson, came out and said, we should just narrow the fairways and grow the rough up. I mean, seriously?
That's how he won a US Open, by the way.
Well, I know, yeah.
That's exactly the style of golf course where he played his best.
I'd actually like that as well, but no.
He would, yeah. You'd be awesome at it.
But I loved US Opens for that reason. But no, that is not the answer. That's for sure.
No, it's just boring. I like seeing the US Open like that once a year because it's something new.
Yeah.
But not every week.
No
way.
Keith Fraser's commented, he reckons you guys missed a big discussion point from the Australian Open.
Ooh.
He's called it the big question that was not answered by you.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Hoshino used iron covers.
He did not.
Did he? I didn't see it.
That's what he's saying. I didn't see him either, but that's what Keith's
Wow.
saying.
Shame on him. That's a disgrace.
He's in the Aaron Rye category.
No, that's...
Aaron Rye uses them.
I put forward a motion that he never gets invited back to Australia while he's got iron covers.
Well, maybe we should fact check that, so just to make sure.
Yeah, I'll have to
Yes.
look that one up. I didn't see it on the coverage.
I didn't notice it.
No.
No,
Okay.
I've usually got an eagle eye for that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you do. You talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
John Purcell has said, Nick, the next time you're up here in Fig Tree Root World, you need to recreate that shot you played on 7 at Royal Pines when you were stymied by the root of the tree. My eyes are still spinning, and I have no idea how you made that shot.
Can you remember the shot?
I cannot remember the shot. So, and I know John too. So thanks, John, for sending that in.
We need to get him to call in next week.
Yeah, maybe he can tell us about
the shot that you can't remember.
I can't remember it.
Jeez, obviously not that memorable.
I was in there. I must have had a bad shot before that. I try and forget my bad shots.
Yeah. And we've got a question here from Ross. Now, Ross has said, "Hey guys, I want to ask you about coming down the stretch and having to make a few shots, having to press, as it were, whether it's match play or club championships or just a bit of fun with your mates. How do you approach getting a few back? Do you drive the same but fire at the pins? Or do you drive and approach the same but putt more aggressively?" Love to hear what you think.
It's a good question. A lot of it depends on what your strengths are, I think. If you're a good putter already, I would say hit the ball as you're doing and just be a bit more aggressive with the putting. Whereas if you're struggling to hole putts, I would then say try and be a bit more aggressive with your approaches. My old coach, I've told you guys this before, he said whenever I was struggling with my putting, I'd say, "What should I do?" And he said, "Well, hit them closer." So it's pretty simple.
It is simple.
Yeah. So I would say it depends on what your strengths are. But if you're a good iron player, be more aggressive, absolutely. Or if you're a good putter, just stay more conservative into the greens and then get more aggressive.
Yeah. So you were a good iron player, and I remember you in situations actually firing at pins, and hitting the ball close.
Well, the other thing in my favour, I had not blowing my own horn, but had a really good short game. Yeah. So if I missed a green or I short-sighted myself, I could still recover. Now, if you're one of these players that doesn't have a good short game, I would say play to the middle of the green and then get more aggressive with your putting.
That's right. So that was me. I never aimed at a flag in my entire professional career if it was tucked. I was always safe-sided. But
you're the world's best bunker player. So
yeah, that's right. That's right. But this is
that's where you went wrong.
If you're not the best iron player in the world, I would suggest to go at centre of the green all the time and cash in on your good putting.
For sure.
You being the world's best bunker player, does that mean, like, looking at it from another way, you just hit a lot into bunkers?
It's a percentage thing, man. Percentage. It's not how many you went in, it's how many times you got up and down as a percent.
I see. Okay. Boys, hear the voicemail message?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, let's go.
You have one new voicemail. New message.
Hi, Nick and Mark. Dave here. Playoff 9. Lucky enough to play at Yarra Yarra and the National. A couple of questions, if I could. The first is in relation to shot visualisation. I think it was Jack Nicklaus that was quoted as saying he never hits a bad shot in the movies, and the importance he placed on visualising shots before he hits them. Keen to get your views on, is that something that you do and realistic for club golfers? And the second really relates to swing thoughts. So I know through experience it's not helpful to have your head full of many swing thoughts, but just wondering if you advocate having a single swing thought that you think is kind of key to your own swing. Thanks again, and love your work.
Two ripper questions there.
Really good. Thanks, Dave.
Which one? You take one, I'll take the other.
The go to the movies question, I love doing that myself, where I don't get as detailed as what Jack used to do. Like he would actually see the flight of the ball, where it would land and roll out to. I mean, in that case, you're probably going to see every shot go in the hole. I'm more of a target kind of guy, just seeing my target and reacting to it. So I think that comes down to the individual, what sort of a person you are. If you're a bit more creative and a bit more instinctual, then I would say, go to the movies a bit more, as in really visualize and see the flight of the ball all the way through and experiment with it. Do the whole thing, like do the entire flight, what shape you want to hit. Really get caught up in the detail of where you want it to land and roll out to. And if that doesn't really fit what your personality is, well, then just go, okay, maybe I'll just try more of a target. I'll pick that little branch there, and that's my target. I'll really lock in on that and not really worry about the overall picture of the shot. Yeah. So you can experiment with that. It really depends on the individual.
I reckon that's a great answer. I reckon club golfers, what Nick is talking about is great, but the full court press in golf is to visualise the target, lock in on the target, and then do a little bit of visualising. But in club golf, you do kind of look like a Sherman tanker if you are putting a full court press on all the shots.
It doesn't take that long, though.
It doesn't take that long, but you can, your playing partners might start sticking it to you.
Okay.
What I would do, you have a bit of a go. If you're playing well and you really, you want to have 42 points or something, and you're halfway there, then maybe a bit of both. Visualization. I used to visualize. I used to visualize how my hands would work through the shot. That seemed to
Nice.
it had a good effect on me. Not only feel it, but visualize it first, and that seemed to work. And the other one, the swing thoughts. I reckon you get one on the way back and one on the way down, and that's it. That's maybe if you're doing something in your setup as well, like flaring out your left foot so you could follow through or chip better. So if you've got one in your setup, one in the backswing, one in the downswing, I think that's your glass is full.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to do much more than that.
Yeah, I'd try and two is fine. I always try to just narrow it down to one. Yeah, for me it was complete the backswing. Very simple. And if I felt like my backswing was good, well then I might think about through the ball or something like that if I was struggling and with hitting through the shot. But the other thing I sort of have changed my mindset around is I don't really call it a swing thought anymore. I call it a swing feel.
Nice.
Because that's sort of tapping into more the creative side of your brain. If you are an analytical person, a thought is fine. By all means, go and think that way. But swing feel rather than swing thought. Just try and maybe work that in there as well.
You heard it here first, folks. On Talk Birdie to Me, the swing feel is now a new thing in golf. I love it.
Is it new? I don't know.
No, it is. Well, the terminology's new.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take full credit for it. So.
Well, I put it in my new book, you see.
Have you?
Yeah, because in my first book, I spoke about swing thoughts. And in my latest book, I said in one of the chapters, I said, I've changed my mind on this. I think it's now swing feel rather than swing thoughts.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Couple of great questions from David there, and people can leave a question for us anytime at talkbirdie2me.com.au on the voicemail thing.
Righto, play the music. Time now for the Ping Global results.
How good is that music? Can't stop talking about it.
You're not supposed to talk about it.
I know, but I can't help it. I'm just
like
pumped.
Fight Club.
I want to run through a wall right now. It's so good. So good. Where are we starting?
You'll just pick out the Ping players that run first. That's what you normally do.
Of course. Why not?
So predictable.
Well, let's go to the Q. There was a bunch of Q schools on. Okay, last week when we did the pod, the LPGA Q school hadn't finished. Now, they give out 45 cards there. The top 20 are the cards that you really want to get. The bottom 25 don't get that good a status. But top 20 is what you want. And as it turned out, an Australian, Robin Choi, won the LPGA Q school.
Unbelievable.
How good was that?
It was great watching her all last year in the TPS tournaments. And we were hopeful. But when you go and win a tour school, that's next level sort of pressure golf. So well done.
She had a really good year on the Epsom tour over there, but just missed out on a card. Went to Q school, got it. Also, Hira Naveed, a West Australian, who went to Pepperdine, I believe, in the US.
What's the name?
Hira Naveed.
Never heard of her.
Really?
No.
Okay. No, she's been playing Epsom as well.
Good on her.
And she got the 15th card. So look forward to seeing both of those on the LPGA Tour next year. We mentioned the Champions Tour where we had Cameron Percy number 1, Michael Wright number 2, Steve Allen tied for 3rd, and apparently David Branston.
No, not apparently, Nick. Say it out loud.
David Branston won the 5th card in a playoff.
Thank you.
Congratulations, David. And congratulations, Mark.
For getting one right. Thank you.
Exactly.
What about Snake Chalmers? Does he get any kind of tournament play?
He is now eligible to Monday qualify for the Champions Tour.
Something.
So, that's something.
That's something.
Yeah. And given how he plays, I'm sure he'll get into a few. And, hey, he may do a Steve Olker.
That's right.
May do a Steve Olker.
Right.
Now, LIV Golf had their LIV Promotions tournament going on. They had 3 stages, 18 holes, and we had 11 Aussies at the start. Only a couple advanced through to the second stage, the second 18 holes. As it turned out, Kerry Mountcastle, remember, he won the event down here in Australia.
New Zealander,
Yep.
He won the Gippsland Super 6.
Yes, so he shot 64 first round and won that stage. Got through with Zach Murray and Carl Yuan.
Wow.
And then they joined Wade Ormsby and Jed Morgan into the second round because those two had a bye.
Yep.
And the only guys to advance through to the final 36 were Kevin Yuan, not Carl Yuan, who's your buddy on the US tour. Yes. Kevin Yuan and Jed Morgan both got through.
Good. To
the final 20 players. They played 36 holes and the top 3 go through. Unfortunately for Yuan and Morgan, they didn't get through, but Kalle Samuja, I think that's how you say it. Finnish golfer.
Right.
He birdied the last two to finish 8 under.
Oh.
And then 3 guys tied at 7 under. Junichiro Kazuma, Kieran Vincent, and who's the brother of Scott Vincent, who's already on the LIV Tour, and Laurie Cantor.
So was there a playoff?
There was a 3-man for 2 spots in LIV. How big a playoff is this, by the way? This is the biggest playoff of all year, I would think.
Yeah, huge.
Now, Laurie Cantor, first playoff hole. They play the 18th par 5 in Abu Dhabi. I've played there. All he's got to do is 2-putt, and he's through. And he 3-putted.
Oh, no.
Yep. The other guys both made par, so they all went through, and again, on the second playoff hole, unfortunately, Cantor hit in the water. He's out.
Oh, you're joking.
So it was Samuja, Kazuma, and Vincent are now on the LIV Golf Tour for
3
next
more
season.
household names go to LIV.
Exactly, yeah.
If Cantor had made that and got in,
Mm-hmm.
what would he have been guaranteed earnings-wise?
Ooh,
Roughly.
They got 14 events.
Yeah.
120 grand minimum per event. So
His last,
1.6 million-ish,
Yeah.
something like
So
that.
I would say he'd probably pick up 2 mil.
At least.
US.
So that one
Because of the
putt,
team.
Yeah.
so that 3-putters
Cost him a couple of million bucks.
cost him a couple of mil.
But it does get him on the Asian Tour International Qualifying Series.
Thank goodness for that. Something.
Sorry,
Oh,
Laurie, but
God,
that was
it
a
makes
tough
you
one now.
Sick. It makes you sick in your stomach
I
hearing
know.
that stuff.
The other Q School is going to happen this week, the PGA Tour Q School, presented by Corn Ferry. So top 5 guys get through, get their PGA Tour cards, which they never used to do. So
Cameron
we'll keep an eye
Percy's
out for
not
that
going.
next
I know
week.
that because I've spoken to him.
Well, I wonder why, because
Yeah,
he's playing Champions
He
Tour.
was booked to go, but he's not going.
I thought he might have gone to LIV or something. The
no,
LIV
no.
Q School. PGA Tour, the Grant Thornton Invitational, where we had the mixed format, which spoke about earlier. Jason Day and Lydia Ko won that. Interesting format, by the way.
Yeah, did you see
3 rounds.
Did you see the one of the ways where they had to hit each other's drive? I love that.
So first round was scramble.
Yep.
So that's the Ambrose, basically.
Yep.
Then they had foursomes, alternate, and then the last one was modified 4-ball. So they both tee off, and then they switch balls and
That's
play the other person's ball out, and best score on the hole.
That's a fantastic format.
It's a good format.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
really
that.
good.
Something different.
Lydia Ko carried Jason, by the way.
Oh, not surprisingly.
Lydia Ko played that well.
Really?
She played awesome.
Ah,
Jason
brilliant.
played well too. I mean, you have to win, but Lydia starred. And they'd never met each other before the start of the week.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Good effort.
Oh, they're building Australasian relations.
Yes. Tasman relations.
Tasman relations, sorry. World Champions Cup, which I'd never heard of, which is the Champions Tour team event.
Must be new.
Yes. It
Must
was
be
at the
new.
concession in Bradenton, Florida. Team USA defeated the Team Internationals and Team Europe. Very weird format. I couldn't follow it at all, but the
I couldn't
captains
follow it.
were Jim Furyk for the USA, Ernie Els for the Internationals, and Darren Clark for Europe. So they had some really good players in there. Team USA won that.
How come Greeny didn't get a start? He must have been close to getting a start.
He might have been playing. I don't know. I didn't really follow it, to be honest. So
I think the only
I just saw the
internationals
result.
I saw were Ernie, Goosen, Steve Elker.
Alka was playing, yes.
Yeah, I can't remember any other internationals
Yeah,
that
I'm not
were
sure.
playing.
I should have
Oh,
done
VJ. VJ was the other one.
Was
There's
he?
4.
I should have done more research on that, but I didn't. And obviously, one of the most important events going on last week was the Cathedral Invitational,
Oh, yes.
where
yes.
Adam Scott, he dominated. 12 under par, 1 by 3 from Todd Sinnott and Jeffrey Guan. Blake Collier, good to see him back in form. Shot a second round, I think he shot 65 second round.
Yes.
Tied for 4th with Cameron Smith.
Hang on. I believe you were in a rules incident.
Did you hear about that?
I am.
Okay.
It filtered back to me to
It
where
did? Okay.
they looked for your ball for 3 minutes.
3 minutes, 10 seconds
And
after.
you said, that's it, it's all done. And 6 seconds later, someone found your ball.
I found my own ball. Yep, found my own ball. I lost 4 that day. I never used to lose 4 in a year. I lost 4 in 1 round.
Oh, my God.
It was a complete shocker, but not unexpected because I haven't played. So
People would have loved seeing you, Nick.
No, it
That's
was
the
a lot of
main
fun being out there,
They
and,
would have loved
and
it.
thanks to Paul Marsh, who caddied for me the second day, and I'm sorry I traipsed you all over the countryside. The other thing that happened, the first day they had the member pro part of it, which is a 4-ball better ball. We had one of the best playoffs there because what we do at Cathedral, whenever there's a playoff, is you hit from just in front of the clubhouse down to the 18th green nearest the pin.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so we had Paul Williamson with his pro Nick Flanagan.
Yeah.
They were in a tie with Matt Yeager and Andrew Dodwell.
Right.
And funnily enough, I think in the Calcutta, Dotty, as we call him, he might have bought both teams. So he was
you're
going to win
kidding
no
me.
matter what. It didn't really matter, but he's a ripper, Dotty. So in this nearest the pin, Flanagan hits it to 6 feet. Beautiful shot down the
Can't
hill.
lose.
It's a little wedge.
Unlosable.
Paul Williamson, the amateur,
No, not an amateur.
hits it to a foot.
Oh! That's huge.
and wins it for him. So they won the Member Pro.
Oh,
so
well.
well done, Paul. That was a brilliant one. But Jam TV were out there. They filmed the whole thing. It's going to come out in the next week or so, I believe.
Oh, good. That'll be good. Look,
do like a highlights package, something
a
like
lot
that.
of people are curious about Cathedral, and this will give you a really good look. So that's great.
Yeah, it's stunning out there at the moment, that's for sure. Tournaments coming up this week. We've got the Sandbelt Invitational happening as we speak, and the PNC Championship. Tiger and Charlie. You'll be happy with that, Mark.
That's good. Yeah, I do. I like watching Charlie Woods
I bet
play.
you do.
We better have an episode next week just for the Charlie Woods heroics.
I think we should. So that is the Ping Global results.
Well, just have a quick glass of water or something because it is time for your top 5.
Okay, my top 5 this week. Because we're getting towards the end of the year, I wasn't sure if this was going to be the last show, but we are going to do one next week, aren't we? So my top 5, I thought...
something's going to happen.
Yeah, something's going to happen.
Something's going to happen this week, so we've got to come back next week.
But thinking about it, I thought, well, what's a good top 5? And I thought, what about the top 5 shots of the year?
Yes.
Top 5 shots of the year.
Tough one.
As it turned out, there was too many. So my top 5 has turned into a top 10.
Goodness sakes.
Jeez.
It's just a one-off, okay?
All right, so it's a top 10.
It's a
best
top
shots of the
10,
year.
okay? I'm just going to wing through them. Number 10, Matt Fitzpatrick in the playoff, Hilton Head against Jordan Spieth, hits a 9-iron to 6 inches for 170 metres.
How's that
Do you remember
number
that shot?
one? Yeah, that's
number 10.
That's number 10.
That's number 10. There's some good ones here. Right. Number 9, Tommy Fleetwood driving the green on the 16th hole in the Ryder Cup to basically clinch it over Ricky Fowler on the final day. That was an amazing tee shot in front of all those people. A lot of pressure. Number 8, Minwoo Lee's 9-iron into the final hole at the Australian on Friday. Out of the pine straw, 173 metres. What a shot that was.
What a shot. An even better masterclass.
We did the masterclass.
Yeah, even better.
That's number 8. Number 7, well, sticking with the Australian Open, Joaquin Neiman's wedge on the second playoff hole. What a shot that was to 5 feet. I thought that was one of the shots of the year.
Driver wedge
to the
18th.
Into a par 5. Do you think they need to dial it back a bit?
I think rollbacks should come a little faster.
Yeah. Number 6, US Open on the Sunday. Wyndham Clark's 3-wood into the 14th. I don't know if you remember that shot.
Yeah,
that was basically clinched the tournament for him. What an amazing shot that was. Number 5, I think you mentioned this one last week in your playoffs. Nick Taylor, Canadian Open.
The long putt?
The 72-footer.
Yeah, good.
To break a 69-year drought for Canadians.
I'm glad you got a putt in there.
Over Tommy Fleetwood.
Because they're very important
they
putts.
Are.
Yep.
Number 4, Victor Hovland's chip shot on the first hole of the Ryder Cup with Ludwig Aberg.
That one that curled around. He
was off the tight line. We'd just been talking about his chipping. That was such a hard shot under massive amounts of pressure, and that just set the tone. They were playing Max Homer and Brian Harman at Marco Simone. I love that shot. That's my number 4.
By the way, can I just interject?
Yeah.
If I'm Liv and I really want to upset the apple cart, Victor Hovland is getting the phone call.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
400 or 500 mil.
Yeah.
Maybe. Number 3, one of the greatest shots of the year, which unfortunately didn't win him the tournament.
Number 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
Bobby McIntyre, final 3-wood into the Scottish Open 18th hole. Do you remember that 3-wood that he cut into the wind?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It was over.
It was. He thought he'd won the Scottish Open. He thought he'd won. Number 2,
Rory from the same tournament.
Rory, the 2-iron final shot in. Unbelievable. I mean, the footage of that shot is just so cool. You watch that on repeat.
And we both agree the putt he hit, he didn't think was going in.
He didn't think it was going in.
He didn't
but the
think
2-iron was one of the best shots of the year. Number 1, well, it's hard to go past this lady. Carlota Segunda at the Solheim Cup. Hit the shot into 17 to 2 feet in front of her entire country, her nation, in front of all the Europeans to birdie the hole to retain the cup for Europe. So that is my number 1.
I think I would have moved number 9 to number 10 and number 10 to number 9. But that's
the bottom 2. Okay.
The bottom 2 I would have moved.
Fair enough. Anyway, that's my top 10 shots of the year.
Righto, time for this week's masterclass. I've watched a lot of golf this year, stacks, and I've actually played with a lot of hacks as well. So I've watched stacks and I've played with hacks.
You're getting good at this.
You hear the term stay down in golf way too often. But if you are not such a good golfer, there is one place where you should stay down, and that is the very start of your backswing. Not at the hitting area, but at the start of your backswing. I see way too many players who aren't flexible, who just jump up and off the ball to try and get the club started. And then that you are just chasing your tail from that point forward. Next time you're watching golf, I want to keep an eye on just the very start of their golf swing and watch their heads. Nobody's head comes up when they start a backswing. They all actually turn and stay down. So if you are a player trying to make sure that you're doing everything right, here's one for you. Stay down when you take the club away. It'll force you to turn, and then you can do all those fancy stuff things on the way through where you're stamping your feet and using the ground or whatever they talk about these days. But if you start your swing by coming up, good night, nurse.
Yeah, no, that's a fair call. The one thing I would say to that, the only thing I'm going to say, Mark, here, is before you take the club away, just lift your chin up a little.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Because that'll just allow your shoulders to be able to turn. Because one thing I do see, you always hear, oh, keep your head down, keep your head down.
The chin goes down.
Chin goes down, and then they just lift the club up with their arms, they don't turn. So chin up.
I'm glad you piped up.
Is a really good thing to do.
I'm glad you piped up.
Yeah.
It does a couple of things. Yeah, it really does. And it actually gets you looking down through the bottom of your eyes a little bit,
true.
which is where you should be doing it as well.
So less playing with hacks by the sounds of it.
Oh, well.
You're playing stacks, less with hacks. Is that right?
Well, we're just trying to make the world go round here.
Good on you, Mark.
We'll see you next week because we know something in the world of golf is going to happen.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen's podcast, Talk Birdie to Me. And if you're looking for some new gear, Ping is absolute top class. Ping help you play your best. Contact your local golf shop or professional and they'll sort you out. And the Golf Clearance Outlet, who beat everyone's prices. They're in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane and Perth, and online at golfclearanceoutlet.com.au. Got a favour to ask, wherever you listen, if you get a chance to rate and review the pod, that would be fantastic. And if you subscribe, you'll never miss an episode. Talk Birdie to Me's executive producer is Dan Bradley at Kaizen Media, and sound design is by Daryl Misson at loudzebra.com. Listening to your top 10, I know one bloke or lady who's not going to make it, and that is the person who at 7 a.m. this morning hit a golf ball on the 4th of Box Hill onto my roof.
Really?
How the hell do you do that?
On your roof.
Onto my roof.
Must have been in the front bunker because you're on the par 3, right?
4. Yeah, on the 4th hole.
Maybe thinned one out of the front bunker.
Did it crack a tile?
Because you got a net to go over.
Yeah, there's a net to go over.
How do you get over the net?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how you hit a ball that badly that it goes over the net onto the roof.
No, it's from a bunker for sure.
Got to be.
And if we're doing stay down, please. In a bunker, that's the other place where you can stay down. Stay down in the bunkers.
For sure.
See you next week.
Cheers.